My billionaire husband left me a warning from beyond the grave. And the person he said I couldn't trust was standing right behind me. He said to give you this if anything happened to him. The lawyer pressed a USB drive into Ella's palm at the funeral. No explanation, just that single sentence before disappearing back into the crowd of mourners. Ella stared at the small device. Her fiancé Julian was dead. Plane crash over the Swiss Alps. No survivors, no bodies recovered. What kind of message do you leave for your fiancé from beyond the grave? She couldn't watch it here. Not surrounded by 200 people in expensive black, all whispering about the tragic accident that killed billionaire Julian Ashford at 32. Ella slipped away during the reception, found Julian's private office in the mansion, locked the door. Her hands shook as she plugged the drive into Julian's laptop. One file, video format. She clicked play. Julian's face filled the screen. He looked terrified. Ella, if you're watching this, I'm dead. And it wasn't an accident. The words hit like a physical blow. I need you to listen carefully. Don't trust anyone, especially not my brother Damien. Ella's blood went cold. Damien has been in love with you since the day we met. He's obsessed, and he'll do anything to have you. Julian leaned closer to the camera, his voice dropping to a desperate whisper. Including killing me. The video ended. Ella sat frozen, staring at the black screen. A voice spoke from behind her. What are you watching? Ella spun around so fast the laptop nearly fell off the desk. Damien stood in the doorway. Now I need you to hit the subscribe button if you want to see what happens next. Trust me, you never saw it coming. Julian's younger brother, tall, dark-haired, with the same sharp features as Julian but softer somehow. He'd been crying. His eyes were red, his tie loosened. How long had he been standing there? Nothing, Ella said too quickly, slamming the laptop shut. Just old videos. Damien's eyes went to the USB drive still plugged into the computer. Then back to Ella's face. You're lying. The air in the room changed, became heavier. Dangerous. I should go, Ella said, standing. People will wonder where I am. She moved toward the door. Damien didn't step aside. What was on the drive, Ella? Damien, please move. The lawyer gave it to you. I saw him. Damien's voice was calm. Too calm. What did my brother say? Ella's heart hammered against her ribs. Julian's words echoed in her head. He'll do anything to have you, including killing me. She was alone, in a locked office, with a man Julian claimed was a murderer. Move, Ella said, trying to sound brave. Now! Damien stared at her for one long, terrible moment, then stepped aside. Ella fled. You're already hooked. Smash that subscribe button because this story is about to get insane. Drop a comment telling me, do you think Damien is guilty or innocent? Let's get into it. Ella didn't go back to the reception. She grabbed her coat and purse, told the valet to bring her car around, and drove straight to her apartment across the city. Away from the mansion, away from Damien, away from the video that had just turned her entire world upside down. Julian thought his brother killed him. No, not thought. Knew. He'd recorded that video like a warning, like evidence. Ella's hands shook on the steering wheel. She'd known Damien for 2 years. He'd been nothing but kind. Supportive. Always there when Julian travelled for business, checking in on her, making sure she wasn't lonely. Was that obsession? Or just being a good brother-in-law? She thought about the times Damien showed up unexpectedly. The coffee shop near her apartment. The art gallery opening. The farmer's market on Sunday mornings. Julian said Damien was following her, but it had never felt threatening, just coincidental. Except now that she thought about it. How many coincidences were too many? Ella pulled into her apartment parking garage, sat in the dark car, trying to steady her breathing. Her phone buzzed. Text message. Damien, we need to talk about what was on that video. Ella's stomach dropped. She didn't respond. Another text came through immediately. Damien, I know what Julian told you. He's lying. Please let me explain. How did Damien know what was on the video unless... Her phone rang. Damien calling. Ella rejected it. It rang again immediately. She turned off her phone, grabbed her things, and ran for the elevator. Inside her apartment, Ella locked the door, the deadbolt, the chain, then checked every window to make sure they were secured. She was being paranoid. This was crazy. Damien wasn't dangerous. He was Julian's brother. Family. But Julian's terrified face on that video wouldn't leave her mind. Ella pulled out her laptop and the USB drive. Plugged it back in. Maybe she'd missed something. Maybe there was more footage. More explanation. The video file was the only thing on the drive. She played it again. Julian's voice filled her quiet apartment. Damien has been in love with you since the day we met. Had he? Ella tried to remember the first time she'd met Damien. 2 years ago at a charity gala. Julian had introduced them. Damien had shaken her hand, smiled politely, made small talk. Nothing memorable, nothing that suggested obsession. But as the relationship with Julian progressed, Damien had become more present in her life. Casual run-ins that became regular, coffee meetings to get to know his future sister-in-law better, invitations to gallery openings and dinners when Julian was travelling. Julian travelled constantly for business. Sometimes Ella went weeks without seeing her fiancé. But she saw Damien all the time. Oh God, Ella's phone, still turned off, sat on her coffee table like a bomb. She turned it back on. 17 missed calls from Damien, 6 voicemails, and 1 text that made her blood run cold. Damien. I'm outside your building, we need to talk. I'm not leaving until let me explain. Ella ran to her window, looked down at the street. A black Mercedes was parked across from her building. Damien sat in the driver's seat, phone in hand, staring up at her building. He was really there, really waiting. Ella backed away from the window, heart racing. Her phone rang again. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But what if it was the lawyer? What if there was more information about Julian's death? Hello? Miss Morrison? This is Detective Sarah Chen with LAPD. I'm calling about Julian Ashford's death. I need to ask you some questions. Can you come to the station? Questions about what? It was a plane crash. In Switzerland. There are some irregularities we need to discuss. How soon can you get here? Irregularities. That meant they suspected something too. I can come now, Ella said. Good. Come alone. Don't tell anyone where you're going. The detective hung up. Ella stared at her phone. The police were investigating, which meant Julian was right. It wasn't an accident. She needed to get to that police station. But Damien was outside. Ella grabbed her keys and headed for the parking garage. She'd go out the back exit, take the service elevator. Damien wouldn't see her leave. The parking garage was dimly lit and empty. Ella's footsteps echoed as she hurried toward her car. She was almost there when she heard it. Footsteps behind her. Ella spun around. Damien emerged from the shadows between 2 concrete pillars. I told you we need to talk, he said quietly. Ella backed toward her car. Stay away from me. Ella, please. Just listen. Julian said you killed him. The words hung in the air between them. Damien stopped walking. His face went very still. And you believe him? He made a video. Right before he died. Warning me about you. He's been planning this for months, Damien said. Voice tight with some emotion Ella couldn't identify. The video, the accusations, all of it designed to make you afraid of me. Why would he do that? Because he knew I'd protect you when he was gone, and he couldn't stand the thought of you choosing me over his memory. Ella's back hit her car. Nowhere left to run. Damien took another step closer, close enough now that she could see his face clearly in the dim light. He looked devastated, exhausted. Julian didn't die in a plane crash, Ella. He faked his death. The parking garage tilted. What? There was no crash? No bodies because there were no victims. Julian staged everything. The flight records, the wreckage in Switzerland, all of it. He's alive. And he's watching to see what you'll do next. Drop a comment right now. Is Damien telling the truth? Or is this the most manipulative thing you've ever heard? Hit that like button and let me know what you think is happening. Ella couldn't breathe. You're insane. The police confirmed a plane went down. Julian made sure of that. But he wasn't on it. Damien pulled out his phone. I have proof. Let me show you. Don't come any closer. Ella, I'm not going to hurt you. I've never wanted to hurt you. Damien's voice cracked. I just need you to see the truth. The truth? Julian said you're obsessed with me, that you've been following me for 2 years, that you killed him to have me. I have been following you. Damien's admission came out like a confession, but not for the reasons you think. Julian was dangerous, Ella. I was trying to protect you from him. Protect me from my own fiancé. Yes. God, Ella, he had you so blind. Damien stopped himself, took a breath. Just look at the evidence, please. 5 minutes. If you still think I'm lying after that, I'll leave. You'll never see me again. Ella's mind raced. The detective wanted to see her. Said there were irregularities. Come alone. Don't tell anyone. What if Damien was telling the truth? What if Julian really had faked his death and framed his own brother? But what if this was exactly what a killer would say to gain her trust? Show me, Ella said finally. The proof. But we're staying right here. In public. Damien slowly held out his phone. Ella took it carefully, making sure their fingers didn't touch. The screen showed an email, sent from Julian's private account. To Damien, dated 4 days before the crash. Brother, the time you read this, I'll be dead. At least, what everyone will think. What Ella will think. What at her? I've seen the way you look at her when you think no one's watching. The way you find excuses to be near her. You're pathetically obvious. Here's your chance. I'm giving you exactly what you want. A clear path to Ella. No competition. Just you and the grieving fiancé. Here's the thing. She'll never choose you. Not really. Because I'm going to make sure she's too afraid, too confused, too broken to trust anyone, especially you. Video I'm leaving for her will destroy any chance you had. She'll think you're a killer, a stalker, a monster. Even if you somehow convince her otherwise, even if you show her this email, she'll always wonder, always doubt, always see me when she looks at you. You'll spend the rest of your life wanting something you can never truly have. Always hollow victory, brother. Ella read it twice, then a third time. Her hands trembled. This could be faked, she whispered. But even as she said it, she recognized Julian's writing style. The casual cruelty, the manipulation. Keep scrolling, Damien said quietly. Ella scrolled. More emails, photos, bank transfer records showing Julian moving massive amounts of money to offshore accounts. Flight manifests showing he'd chartered a private plane from Switzerland to Singapore the day before the crash. The evidence kept coming, and coming, and coming. Oh my God, Ella breathed. He's really alive. I've been trying to find him for 3 weeks, Damien said, since the day of the fake crash. But he's hidden himself well, probably watching us right now to see if his plan worked. Ella looked up at Damien, really looked at him. Were you? She asked quietly. In love with me? Damien's jaw tightened. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, yes. The honest answer hung between them. From the first moment, Julian introduced us. But I never would have acted on it. You were his fiancé. Off limits. I kept my distance as much as I could. Julian's email said you were always around, following me. I was protecting you. Julian was... Damien struggled for words. He wasn't the man you thought he was, Ella. He had a temper. I saw bruises on you that you tried to hide. Heard the way he spoke to you when he thought no one was listening. I was terrified he'd really hurt you one day. Ella remembered. The bruise on her ribs, Julian said, came from her tripping on the stairs. The way he'd grip her arm too tight when he was angry, leaving finger-shaped marks she'd covered with long sleeves. She'd made excuses. Told herself he was just stressed. That he didn't mean it. I should have left him, she whispered. He wouldn't have let you. That's why I stayed close. Making sure you were okay. Ready to step in if things got worse. A car engine started somewhere in the garage. They both jumped. The detective, Ella said suddenly. Detective Chen called me. Said there were irregularities with Julian's death. Asked me to come to the station alone. Damien's face went white. What detective? What station? LAPD, she said. Ella? No. Damien grabbed her arms. Think about it. If Julian faked his death and the police investigated, they'd come to you. They wouldn't call and ask you to come alone. The words sank in slowly. It wasn't really a detective, Ella realized. It was Julian. He's setting a trap. If you go to that police station, you'll disappear just like he did. Except you won't be faking. Ella's phone buzzed in her pocket. Text message from the same unknown number. Detective Chen. Miss Morrison. Are you on your way? It's urgent. We speak tonight. He knows I'm still here, Ella said, voice shaking. He's watching us right now. Damien looked around the parking garage. Cameras in every corner. Of course, Julian would have access to the security feeds. He'd owned this building. We need to leave, Damien said. Right now. Somewhere he can't track us. Where? I have a safe house. Bought it under a shell company Julian doesn't know about. We can figure out our next move there. Ella looked at Damien. At the man Julian had painted as a monster. The man who'd just shown her evidence that her dead fiancé was actually alive and orchestrating everything. She had two choices, trust Damien or face Julian's trap alone. Okay, Ella said. Let's go. They took Damien's car, left Ella's in the garage so Julian would think she was still home. As they pulled out onto the street, Ella saw a figure standing in the shadows across from her building, watching, waiting, too far away to see clearly. But she knew. Julian was there, making sure his plan worked. And now he'd seen her leave with Damien. Exactly what he wanted. The safe house was 40 minutes outside the city. A modern cabin tucked into the hills, isolated and secure. Damien checked every room before letting Ella inside. Drew all the curtains, set the security system. We're safe here, he said. For now. Ella sank onto the leather couch, exhausted. The day had been a nightmare. Funeral, video, Damien. The fake detective. Finding out her dead fiancé was alive and trying to destroy them both. Why? She asked. Why would Julian do this? What does he gain by faking his death and framing you? Damien poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handed her one. Control, he said simply. Julian always needed to control everything, everyone. When he realized he was losing control over you, I wasn't leaving him. But you were thinking about it. I could see it. You were pulling away emotionally, questioning things. He couldn't stand that. Damien sat across from her. This whole scheme lets him control the narrative, control how you remember him, control whether you ever move on, by making me afraid of the one person who actually tried to help me. Exactly. Ella took a long drink. The whiskey burned going down. So what do we do? How do we prove Julian's alive? How do we stop him? We find him first. Damien pulled out his laptop. I've been tracking his financial movements, the offshore accounts, the shell companies. He's good at hiding, but he's not perfect. He'll slip up eventually. And then what? Turn him in. If we can. Damien's expression darkened, but Julian won't let himself get caught. He'd rather burn everything down than face consequences. Including us, especially us. Ella's phone, which she'd silenced, lit up with another call. Unknown number. Had to be Julian trying again. She rejected it. Immediately, a text came through. Miss Morrison, if you don't come to the station voluntarily, we'll have to issue a warrant for your arrest for conspiracy in Julian Ashford's murder. He's escalating, Damien said, reading over her shoulder, trying to force you into a mistake. What if we use that? Ella said slowly. What if I respond? Play along. Make him think I'm coming. Too dangerous, if you go. I won't actually go. But we can track him. If he's really watching, really waiting for me somewhere, we can find out where... Damien considered this. You'd be bait. I'm already bait. At least this way we're in control. Ella, we need to end this, Damien. I can't spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder, wondering if Julian's watching, wondering when he'll strike. Damien stared at her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, but we do this my way. Controlled. With backup. And the second things go wrong, we abort. Agreed. They spent the next hour planning. Ella would respond to the fake detective's messages. Agree to meet at a location of their choosing. But she'd wear a tracking device. Damien would follow at a distance with security he trusted. People Julian didn't know about. When Julian showed up to spring whatever trap he'd planned, they'd have proof he was alive. They'd record everything, then turn it over to actual police. Simple plan. Dozens of ways it could go wrong. At midnight, Ella sent the text. I'll meet you, where and when. The response came instantly. Toro, 10 p.m. Old Cannery Warehouse on Pier 19. Come alone. He wants me in an abandoned warehouse, Ella said. How cliché. Cliché because it works, Damien said grimly. Isolated, easy to control. Multiple exits if he needs to run. We'll be ready. Damien set up the guest bedroom for Ella. She tried to sleep but couldn't. Kept thinking about Julian, about the man she'd thought she loved turning out to be a monster. Had there been signs? Red flags she'd ignored? The bruises? The controlling behavior? The way he'd isolated her from friends and family? She'd explained it all away, told herself it was love, that he just cared so much. God, she'd been stupid. Around 3 a.m., Ella gave up on sleep and went to the kitchen for water. Damien was already there, sitting in the dark, staring at his laptop screen. "Can't sleep either?" Ella asked. He looked up, surprised. "Sorry, didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't." "I was already awake." She sat across from him. "What are you working on?" "Trying to figure out Julian's endgame. He faked his death, framed me, set a trap for you. But what happens after? What's his ultimate goal?" "Maybe he just wants to see us suffer. Maybe. But Julian always has multiple layers. He's planning something bigger." Ella studied Damien's face in the laptop's glow, exhausted. "Worried, determined. Why are you doing this?" she asked quietly. "You could have just shown me the evidence and walked away. Let me deal with Julian alone. Instead, you're risking everything to help me." Damien closed the laptop, met her eyes. "Because I meant what I said in the parking garage. I'm in love with you. Ella have been for 2 years, and even if you never feel the same way, even if you hate me for it, I can't stand by and watch Julian destroy you." The confession hung in the air between them. Ella should feel uncomfortable, pressured. This man just admitted he'd been in love with his brother's fiancé for years, but all she felt was safe. "I don't hate you," she said softly. "I think, maybe I've known for a while, that you felt something. I just didn't want to acknowledge it because it would have meant admitting Julian and I weren't working. You deserved better than him. I deserved honesty. Which you're finally giving me." Damien reached across the table, slowly, giving Ella time to pull away. She didn't. His hand covered hers. Warm, solid, real. "After this is over," Damien said quietly, "after Julian is dealt with and you're safe, ask me again why I did this. And maybe the answer will be different. What will it be? Not because I'm in love with you, because you became my best friend somewhere along the way. And that matters more." Ella's throat tightened. She squeezed his hand. They sat like that for a long time, not speaking, just existing in the quiet darkness together. When Ella finally went back to bed, she slept soundly for the first time in weeks. That like button if you're Team Damien. Drop a comment telling me if you think Julian is watching them right now at the safe house. We're about to hit the major confrontation. You won't believe what Julian's real plan is. The next day crawled by. Ella tried to act normal, ate breakfast, watched Damien coordinate with his security team, checked and rechecked the tracking device hidden in her watch. At 8 p.m., they left for the warehouse. Damien drove a different car, another precaution. His security team followed in unmarked vehicles, staying far enough back that Julian wouldn't spot them. "Remember," Damien said as they approached the warehouse district, "you walk in. Get him talking. We need him to admit on recording that he faked his death. That's our proof." Ella touched the tiny camera clipped to her jacket, disguised as a designer button. "I remember, and if anything feels wrong, you run. Don't try to be brave. Just run. I will." They parked 2 blocks away. Damien helped Ella out of the car. For a moment, they just looked at each other. "Be careful," Damien said. "You too." Then Ella turned and walked toward Pier 19. The warehouse loomed ahead. 3 stories of rusted metal and broken windows. Condemned years ago. Perfect place for an ambush. Ella's heart hammered as she approached the main entrance. The door hung open, inviting her in. She stepped inside. The interior was massive, empty. Moonlight streamed through holes in the roof, creating pools of silver light in the darkness. "Hello?" Ella called out. Her voice echoed. No response. She walked deeper into the warehouse, past old machinery, rusted shipping containers, piles of forgotten equipment. "I'm here," she called again. "Where are you?" A light flickered on in the far corner, a single bulb hanging from a chain. Beneath it stood Julian, alive, smiling, not a scratch on him. "Hello, Ella," he said. "Miss me?" Ella's breath caught. Seeing him, really seeing him, alive and well, made everything real. The betrayal, the manipulation, the evil, why? The word came out broken. "Why did you do this?" "Because I could—" Julian stepped forward. "Because watching you spiral and panic and turn to my pathetic brother was entertaining. Because you needed to learn a lesson about loyalty." "A lesson? You faked your own death. And you believed it immediately. Cried at my funeral. Played the devastated fiancé perfectly." His smile turned cruel. "Then less than 12 hours later you were holding Damien's hand." trusting him, believing his lies about me. They weren't lies. I saw the evidence. Evidence I let him find. Julian laughed. God, Ella, you're so naive. The emails, the bank records, all of it. I planted it for Damien. Knew he'd show you. Knew you'd fall for his "I'm protecting you" routine. Ella's stomach dropped. You wanted me to trust him? Of course, because now I have proof you're a cheating whore who ran straight to my brother the second you thought I was dead. Julian pulled out his phone. I've been recording everything. Every moment you spent with Damien. Every touch. Every confession. The internet is going to love this story. He'd planned this. All of it. The video warning her about Damien was designed to push her toward him. The fake detective call was to make her paranoid. Everything calculated to make her look guilty. You're insane, Ella whispered. I'm brilliant. There's a difference. Julian walked a slow circle around her. Here's what happens next. You're going to disappear. Another tragic accident. Maybe you couldn't handle my death and drove off a cliff. Maybe you OD'd on pills. Haven't decided yet. People will ask questions. Let them. I'm dead, remember? Can't exactly be a suspect, and Damien will take the fall, the obsessive brother who drove my grieving fiancé to suicide. Ella realized with cold horror. Julian wasn't trying to frame Damien for murder. He was framing him for hers. You won't get away with this, Ella said, trying to keep her voice steady. Damien knows where I am. He'll come looking. I'm counting on it. Julian smiled. Why do you think I chose this location? It's all set up, Ella. The explosives are already in place. When Damien comes running in to save you, this whole warehouse goes up. You both die in a tragic fire. And I collect the insurance on this property I own under a shell company. Profit and revenge. Of course. Ella backed away slowly. You're not going to kill me. Oh, sweetheart. I already have. You just don't know it yet. Julian pressed something on his phone. A timer appeared on a screen behind him. 5 minutes. The warehouse was set to explode in 5 minutes. Goodbye, Ella. Thanks for making this fun. Julian turned and walked toward a back exit. Ella ran. She didn't know where. Just away from the timer. Away from Julian. Toward the front entrance where Damien was waiting. But halfway there, something exploded behind her. Not the main blast. A smaller one, collapsing part of the roof, blocking the front exit with burning debris. Ella skidded to a stop. Turned. The only way out now was the back where Julian had gone. She ran that direction, burst through the back door, and found Damien fighting with Julian. They were on the loading dock, fists flying. Damien had Julian pinned against a railing overlooking the water 30 feet below. You set a bomb! Damien was shouting. You're going to kill everyone! Julian kneed him in the stomach. Damien doubled over. Damien! Ella screamed. Both men looked up. Julian grabbed something from his jacket. A gun! He pointed it at Damien's head. I told you, Julian said, breathing hard. I always win. Time seemed to slow. Ella saw the gun. Saw Damien on his knees. Saw Julian's finger on the trigger. She didn't think. Just moved. Threw herself at Julian with all her strength. They both went over the railing. Falling. 30 feet. Toward black water. Ella hit the surface hard. Pain exploded through her body. Water filled her nose and mouth. She was sinking. Down, down, down. Strong hands grabbed her, pulled her up. She broke the surface, gasping. Damien was there, holding her, keeping her head above water. I've got you, he said. I've got you. 20 yards away, Julian floated face down. Not moving. Damien swam them both toward the shore, pulled Ella onto the concrete dock. Behind them, the warehouse exploded. Massive fireball, shockwave that rattled Ella's bones. Heat so intense they had to shield their faces. Sirens wailed in the distance. Damien's security team appeared, running toward them. Police and fire trucks approached. Ella lay on the cold concrete, coughing up water, watching the warehouse burn. Julian's body disappeared beneath the waves. This time, he was really dead. Smash that subscribe button because we're not done yet. The final twist is coming, and it changes everything. Comment if you think Julian survived this time. 3 months later, Ella stood in front of the mirror in her new apartment. Different building, different part of the city. Fresh start. The police had investigated everything. Found the explosives Julian planted, the evidence of his fake death and manipulation. The recordings he'd made of Ella and Damien. The case was closed. Julian Ashford died trying to kill his fiancé and brother in an elaborate revenge scheme. The media ate it up for weeks, then moved on. Ella was finally free. A knock on her door. She opened it to find Damien holding 2 coffee cups and a bag of pastries. "Morning," he said with a small smile. "Morning." Ella took the coffee gratefully. "You didn't have to. I wanted to. They'd been doing this for 3 months. Taking things slow. Building something real on a foundation of truth instead of lies. No more secrets. No more manipulation. Just 2 people who'd survived hell together trying to figure out what came next. I have something to show you," Damien said. He pulled out his phone, opened an email. The subject line read, "Ashford Estate, final settlement. Julian's will has been fully processed. He left everything to you. The house, the company, the money. All of it." Ella stared at the number at the bottom. More money than she could spend in 3 lifetimes. "I don't want it," she said immediately. "It's blood money? Then donate it. Start a foundation for domestic violence survivors. Help people trapped in situations like you were." Damien squeezed her hand. "Turn something evil into something good." Ella considered this, then nodded slowly. "Yeah, I could do that. We could do that. If you want help, Well, I'm unemployed now that I quit Ashford Industries. Figured I could use a job." Damien smiled. "Plus, someone needs to make sure you eat breakfast." Ella laughed. First real laugh she'd had in months. "Okay," she said. "Partners." "Partners," Damien agreed. They drank their coffee on Ella's tiny balcony as the sun came up over the city. A new day, a new life, a new beginning built on honesty and survival. Ella looked at Damien and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Maybe she'd fall in love with him eventually. Maybe not. But they had time to figure it out. All the time in the world. Julian couldn't touch them anymore. He was gone. Finally. Really. Truly. Ella took a deep breath and let herself believe it. The nightmare was over. She was free. But 3,000 miles away, in a private clinic in Switzerland, a man with extensive facial reconstruction bandages removed them slowly. The doctor stepped back to admire his work. "Perfect," the doctor said. "No one will recognize you." The man looked in the mirror at his new face, smiled. Julian Ashford had always been good at coming back from the dead, and this time he had nothing but patience. Ella thought she was safe. She was wrong. You made it to the end? Smash that like button and hit subscribe for more twisted romance stories. Drop a comment. Do you want